In every city, there are cars that never take you where you plan to go. Zara entered one of them and learned that even a smile can be a trap. It was 7:45 p.m. in Lagos. Street lights flickered on as traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge crawled like a tired snail. Zara adjusted her office bag and wiped sweat from her forehead. She had stayed late at work again. When she saw a black Sienna parked by the roadside, she sighed with relief. The driver leaned out and asked, "Madame, are you going to Yaba?" "Yes," she replied quickly. "Come in," he said calmly. "We're just carrying 2 people." Inside sat a woman scrolling through her phone and a quiet man in a suit behind the driver. Everything looked normal. Zara entered and shut the door. The air smelt of car perfume mixed with faint petrol. The driver smiled through the rear mirror. "Don't worry, we'll get there quickly." They started moving. Lagos lights stretched across the road like glowing beads. Zara brought out her phone to text her friend, but the network was gone. She sighed. Oh no, not again. A few minutes later, she noticed something strange. The driver didn't take the usual turn toward Yaba. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "This road doesn't lead to—" Before she could finish, the woman beside her turned and said softly, "Just keep quiet." Zara froze. "What did you say?" The woman's voice turned cold. "I said keep quiet." Zara's chest tightened. The man in the suit had quietly moved closer to the window. The driver was whispering something to him in Yoruba. Her heartbeat grew louder. She reached for the door handle. It didn't open. The lock was jammed. "Driver, stop this car!" she shouted. The driver's face changed. He pressed a button and the windows rolled up. "Relax," he said. "We just need to stop somewhere first." "Somewhere?" Zara whispered. "What do you mean?" The woman pulled a small knife from her handbag. "Sit still," she ordered. Zara's throat went dry. Tears filled her eyes as the driver laughed quietly. Outside, cars passed and horns blared. But nobody noticed her. Nobody saw her face pressed against the glass. She looked down at her phone. Still no network. Should I scream? Should I jump? The car turned off the main road into a dark path lined with trees. Streetlights disappeared. City noise faded. Only the engine hummed. Zara prayed silently. "God, please, don't let me die here." Then she noticed a small crack near the window, just big enough for her voice. A truck followed behind them. "If I can signal him." Her hands shook as she pushed the cracked glass down. The woman turned sharply. "What are you doing?" "Please," Zara whispered. "Let me go." The driver hissed and stepped harder on the accelerator. The car sped deeper into darkness. A flickering red light appeared ahead, a police checkpoint. Hope flooded her chest. Before she could speak, the driver swerved into a narrow bush path. The lights vanished behind the trees. Her hope died instantly. Zara screamed, but no one heard. The car stopped. It was pitch dark. No houses, no street lights, only crickets and the smell of wet soil. "Get down," the man in the suit said coldly. Zara's legs trembled as she stepped out. Her heels sank into the mud. The woman shoved her roughly forward. "Move." They led her into a small, abandoned compound, the kind of place people avoid even during the day. Broken windows, rusted gate. A faded signboard read, "Sweet Comfort Guest House." Inside, a dim lantern burned on a wooden table. 2 men waited in the shadows. One wore a red cap. The other had long tribal marks on both cheeks. The driver whispered, "We brought her." They nodded. Zara tried to speak, but her lips trembled. One man lifted her chin. "Pretty girl," he said mockingly. "You'll make us a lot of money tonight." "Please," Zara said. "I don't have money. I'm just an office worker." He laughed. "We don't need your money. People pay to buy life." "Buy life?" she repeated weakly. Don't worry, the man in the red cap said. You'll understand soon. They dragged her into a small room with no windows. A dirty mattress lay on the floor. A rope was tied to a metal pole. Before she could move, the woman tied her hands and pushed her down. Zara's tears ran freely. She thought about her mother waiting at home, her younger brother who always texted good night, and the message she never got to send. I'm on my way. Hours passed. She heard them laughing outside, counting money, making calls. Every sound made her heart beat faster. Then she heard something else, a ringtone. It came from the woman's bag on the floor. The kidnappers had left their phones inside the room. Zara's hands were tied, but not tightly. She twisted and pulled until the rope loosened. Her skin burned, but she didn't stop. When her hands came free, she grabbed the bag and found a phone. It was locked. She tried 0000. Wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrong again. Tears filled her eyes. The phone slipped from her hand and lit up again. An incoming call. Brother, if I answer and scream, maybe he can trace me. She picked it up. Help me, please. They kidnapped me. Before she could finish, the door burst open. The woman rushed in, furious. She slapped Zara hard. The phone fell. So you think you're smart, she yelled. The man with tribal marks entered, holding a machete. Let me handle her, he said coldly. Zara froze. He raised the blade. A loud car horn sounded outside. Once, twice, then 3 times. The kidnappers paused. Who is that? The woman whispered. I don't know, the man said. The horn blared again. The driver ran inside, panicking. Police! I saw flashlights! Zara's eyes widened. Take her back to the car, the man shouted. The woman grabbed Zara. But as they stepped outside, a bright flashlight cut through the dark. Who's there? A man shouted. The kidnappers froze. The driver raised his hands. Officer, we didn't do anything. But the man with the light wasn't wearing a uniform. He was older, with a thick beard and worn jacket. 2 younger men stood behind him, holding long sticks. Who are you? The bearded man barked. What are you doing here this late? The man with tribal marks tried to smile. We just had a car problem. Help me, Zara screamed. They kidnapped me. The men with sticks rushed forward. Chaos exploded. One struck the driver's arm. The machete man fought back. Zara crawled into the bushes, heart pounding. Catch her! The woman shouted. But the bearded man grabbed her wrist. You're not going anywhere! Zara ran. Branches tore her clothes, stones cut her feet, but she didn't stop. Behind her, shouting faded into silence. She reached an open road. Headlights flashed ahead. A motorcycle was coming. She waved both hands. Stop! Please! Help me! The rider stopped, alarmed. What happened? Kidnappers! They're behind me! He pointed behind her. Climb quickly! Zara jumped onto the bike. They sped into the night. Wind hit her face as tears streamed down. A few minutes later, they reached a junction. A small kiosk with a flickering bulb was still open. The rider stopped. You're safe now. Call the police. Zara borrowed his phone, her hands trembling. She dialed her mother's number. When her mother answered, Zara broke down. Mama, they tried to kill me. Her mother screamed. Zara, where are you? I don't know, she cried. Somewhere near mile 12. Please send help. Within minutes, a police van arrived. They gave her water and listened to her story. Her clothes were torn, her face dusty and pale, but she was alive. They took her to the station. Her mother arrived later, crying and holding her tight. I thought I lost you, she wept. I saw death, Mama, Zara whispered. I saw it. By morning, the police found the compound. Two kidnappers had escaped, but one didn't, the woman. She was caught hiding inside a gutter. The officers dragged her to the station, dusty, handcuffed, but still proud. Zara stared at her, but her mother gasped in shock. Her voice trembled. Jesus Christ. Mama Ebere, you know her, ma'am? An officer asked. Zara's mother nodded slowly. She was my neighbor years ago. We sold in the same market. She always mocked me for not having a son. When I had Zara, she changed and stopped talking to me. Mama Ebere's eyes burned with anger. You forgot to say you took my stall, she said bitterly. Everyone loved you and your daughter. You became Madam Stella, the blessed one. I became the woman people pitied. Zara's mother shook her head. So you kidnapped my daughter because of jealousy? Mama Ebre's voice cracked. You had what I wanted. A daughter, respect, peace. I had only pain. When I saw her face that night, I knew she was yours. But it was too late to turn back. The room fell silent. Even the officers didn't speak. Zara looked at her mother, heartbroken. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. You let envy destroy you, she said softly. And now look where it brought you. Mama Ebery lowered her head. Her eyes glistened. Some pain never dies, she whispered. Take her away, the officer said quietly. As they led the woman out, Zara turned to her mother. You never told me about her. Her mother sighed. Some stories are better forgotten. I never thought they would come back to haunt us. Zara held her hand. Maybe God let me live so we'd see how far envy can go. Her mother nodded. And so we'll never forget what protection truly means. They stepped outside. Dawn was breaking. The air was cool. Zara looked up and whispered, Thank you, God. She would never forget that night. Not for what it took from her, but for what it revealed about the darkness envy can create.